This is a review of the main events in the armed forces of Ukraine for the past week. Ukrainian units continue to hold the northern part of Pokrovsk. In the Pokrovsk and Mirnograd areas, they are blocking the enemy's attempts to accumulate assault groups in order to advance around these settlements. The commander-in-chief of the armed forces of Ukraine, who was working with commanders on the ground, reported on the situation in the Pokrovsk-Mirnograd agglomeration. The East Operational Grouping also reported that search and assault operations on the elimination of the enemy in urban areas are ongoing in Pokrovsk. Additional logistic routes to Pokrovsk and Mirnograd have been organized to ensure uninterrupted supply of everything necessary for Ukrainian units. Our units also managed to significantly improve their tactical positions in the city of Kupiansk and stabilize the situation in the area, according to the General Staff. The defense forces are working to gradually push the enemy out of its bridgeheads to the north of the city, as well as from several other areas where the Russians are still present. Meanwhile, Russian forces continue to attack civilian infrastructure in Ukrainian cities and villages, including residential buildings and social facilities. They are focusing on heat and energy generation. In Vyzhhorod in Kyiv region, the Russians attacked high-rise residential buildings and a hospital. They are killed and wounded. After the attack, specialists of the State Emergency Service, with the help of a robotic system, removed from the roof of a multi-story building the warhead of a Russian drone and 21 unexploded cluster munitions. Poland, Germany, Norway and Canada have announced the allocation of funds for the purchase of American weapons for Ukraine. The Minister of Foreign Affairs of Germany stated that his country, together with Norway and Poland, will form an assistance package totaling $500 million United States dollars. Canada will provide $200 million United States dollars. In addition, the Netherlands will allocate an additional 250 million euros. These funds will be used in the United States, in particular to purchase anti-aircraft missile for F-16 fighter jets and ammunition which Ukraine needs the most. Ukraine and Norway will jointly produce Ukrainian drones. The relevant document was signed by the defense ministers of the two countries. The pilot production line is to be deployed in 2026. Last week, a licensing agreement was also signed to produce Ukrainian interceptor drones, called Octopus, in the United Kingdom. This week, the defense forces of Ukraine struck a number of important facilities on the territory of the Russian Federation. In particular, they hit the Dmitrievska oil depot in Tambov region and the Livne oil depot in Orlov region. These facilities are involved in supplying the needs of the Russian occupation army. In addition, a production workshop at the Nevenomysk Azot plant in Stavropol territory was hit. This is one of the largest chemical enterprises of the aggressor, which produces components for explosives. Elements of enemy air defense on Donbass were also destroyed, including a launcher from a S-300V surface-to-air missile system that was on combat duty, as well as two high-value radar stations. Since the beginning of this year, the Russian army has lost more than 380,000 soldiers in the war against Ukraine. This is approximately equal to the strength of 32 divisions. In other words, the Russians are losing about 3 divisions every month. These are the data of the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. In November alone, Ukrainian warriors eliminated more than 31,000 Russian occupiers. In addition, 617 artillery systems and more than 70 enemy tanks were destroyed. This was a review of the main events in the Armed Forces of Ukraine over the past week. Take care and stay safe. Glory to Ukraine!